Colorado sells itself as fresh air and open sky, but the shadows stretch long between the peaks. Tonight on Unseen Casebook Vids, we're stepping into 5 Colorado cases where the ordinary became unthinkable. A high school senior who came home and never made it back out. A daughter who was taken on Christmas Eve. A 7-year-old who vanished between a curb and a school door. A mother found beneath a white sheet in a canyon. And a Navy veteran who seemed to walk into thin air when his flight was canceled. These aren't ghost stories. They're real. If you care about the ones who didn't get answers, you're in the right place. Tap like to help more eyes find these cases. Subscribe if you haven't, and keep your light handy. The trail looks clear at first, until you realize who's been using it. Case 1. Coming Home to Evil, the case of Maggie Long. On December 1st, 2017, 10 days shy of her 18th birthday, Maggie Long raced home to Bailey, Colorado. She was a straight-A senior at Platte Canyon High School, active in theater, the kind of student who had keys to the auditorium because she'd be there early and lock up late. That night, there was a concert she'd helped organize. She planned to change, maybe grab something, and head back. At 7:01 p.m., a 911 call came from the upstairs tenant at the Long family home. Multiple men downstairs, arguing, throwing things, trying to set a fire. By 7:12 p.m., first responders arrived. The men were gone. The upstairs tenant made it out. Once crews knocked down the flames, they made the discovery no one is built for. Maggie's remains, badly damaged by the blaze. The scene showed clear signs of a struggle, and several items were missing. A rifle, a handgun, approximately 2,000 rounds of ammunition, a green safe, and jade figurines. Sketches of suspects were built from neighbor descriptions. At first, the working theory was a crime of opportunity, burglars expecting an empty house. Then, federal investigators looked at the family's visibility and heritage. Chinese Vietnamese immigrants who owned local Chinese restaurants, and later classified the case as a hate-motivated attack. A grim echo surfaced on June 3, 2018, an attempted robbery and arson in Warrensburg, Missouri, with very similar methods. One of the 2 suspects there resembled a sketch from Maggie's case. It's not confirmation, but it's hard to ignore. The simplest story is also the cruelest. Maggie came home and surprised them. Whether she was collateral or the target, the night ended the same. Fire to erase, heat to unmake. As of now, no arrests. Only a house that once knew her footsteps, and a night that wouldn't give her back. Case 2. Margaret's Christmas from Hell, the case of May, Sweet. Margaret Alice, May. Sweet loved the places where gravity lets go. The mountains, fast water, the charge of live music. Born April the 22nd, 1970. By 2008, she'd moved to Colorado Springs to be near family and away from a relationship that had turned frightening. Her ex, Jerry Dale Batts, didn't stay away. Flowers, a teddy bear, an engagement ring left in her car. On May 13th, 2008, May secured a permanent protection order. She was also working with TESSA, the local nonprofit supporting survivors of domestic harm. Her family had seen bruises. Her best friend had heard the stories. Jer denied everything. Paperwork does not lie. December 24th, 2008, Christmas Eve. May visited a friend in the afternoon, stopped at the hospital to see her father James and stepmother Penny, then hit a drugstore on the way back to her father's place. Around 11 p.m., neighbors heard a loud argument outside the house, an adult male shouting at May, followed by a single, sharp bang. No one called. At 5:50 a.m. on Christmas morning, James returned. On the porch, he found May, unresponsive, with one leg down in the basement window well. a few steps from safety. Her car door stood open. Valuables were still inside. This wasn't a grab and go. It came looking for her. Ballistics linked the round to a 2007 incident from a drug deal gone wrong. The earlier victim survived. May's toxicology was clean, and there's no evidence she was tied to that world. The overlap may simply mean the same tool changed hands. Jer was questioned the next day. He said he had an alibi, a date with another woman, and claimed he passed a polygraph. A check for residue on his hands was done approximately 8 hours after May was found. Nothing registered. Time erases more than memory. A detective noted May had a verbal dispute with unknown individuals days before the shooting. Another loose thread with no label. Then the detail that says she was trying to stay alive. May sometimes met people online using the alias Shelby Jameson. She even used it to rent an apartment, trying to keep Jer from finding her. Until today, no arrest. That porch still ices over in winter. You can stand where she fell and feel how close the keyhole was. Case 3. The sad story of Tracy Marie Neef, taken between a curb and a school door. January 6th, 1977. Tracy Marie Neef was born. By 1984, she was 7, old enough to know the route to class, too young to understand the things that hunt the edges of routine. Thornton, Colorado, Heil Elementary. On a normal day, kids gathered on the playground until teachers opened the back door. Late arrivals used the front, where you signed in. That morning, Tracy's mom, Susan, ran late and dropped her at 8:20 a.m. The playground was empty. Susan watched Tracy head for the front entrance and drove away. She never saw her daughter again. At 2:45 p.m., Susan returned. No Tracy. Maybe she'd started walking home. Susan drove the route slow, waiting to spot her. Nothing. Back to the school. The teacher said the unthinkable. Tracy never arrived. By 4 p.m., police were notified. At 4:45 p.m., approximately 40 miles away near Nederland, at Barker Meadow Reservoir, a couple walking their dog found Tracy off trail. School supplies scattered. Her backpack approximately 100 feet away. The autopsy laid it out. Tracy was attacked, restrained, ligature marks at the wrists, and her coat strap had been tied tightly over her mouth, leaving marks at her chin. Investigators believe the person responsible had used her coat to silence her, intending to let her go. Similar to a pattern of attacks that year, where young girls were assaulted and released. But this time, the knot was too tight. She couldn't breathe. Her father believed she knew the person who took her. Police ruled out school employees and family and dug through decades of offender files. In 1998, they attempted to extract DNA from a hair. It was ruined in processing. A later person of interest, Aaron Schonlau, convicted in the 1993 taking and killing of Alicia Lacey Woolsey Roof in Hawaii, had lived only blocks from Tracy in 1984 with his brother, Todd. Allegations later surfaced that Todd knew details only someone present would know in the Hawaii crime. None of it has tied cleanly to Tracy's case. Her parents split a year later, grief grinding everything to grit. The case remains unsolved. Between a curb and a school door, the shortest walk in the world became the longest road to answers. Case 4. Castlewood Canyon. What happened to Violet Rose Newman? October 25th, 1980. Violet Rose Newman, 57, finished her shift at May D&F in the South Glen Mall and left around 5 p.m. to walk to her car. Her husband, Ronald, went bowling, got home at 7:30 p.m., and seeing she wasn't back yet, went to bed. At 1:30 a.m., he called their son, Greg. No one had seen her. He called the police. By the next afternoon, hikers in Castlewood Canyon found Violet off the path, covered with debris and a plain white sheet. She had been assaulted and then struck at very close range. Deputies located her station wagon 3 blocks from her home. Inside the car, investigators found heavy red staining on the passenger seat, suggesting she was attacked from behind while seated and then driven to the canyon to be left there. A witness saw a man abandon the car between 7 and 8 p.m. that same night. Another woman reported a young white male in the May D and F lot, demanding a ride while displaying a weapon, claiming he'd stolen from his brother. She sped off. That man, described as having red hair and a pug nose, was seen getting into a red truck. It may be the same person. In 2004, a DNA profile was obtained from preserved evidence, enough to exclude some people, not enough to name one. The family's aftermath was brutal. Scott, the eldest, was institutionalized after his mother's death and passed in 1998 of natural causes. Jill became estranged amid rumors of occult interests and never claimed her inheritance after Ronald died. Mark developed severe depression and anxiety. Greg built a real estate career, the sturdy branch on a storm-bent tree. Somewhere there's a name that belongs to the DNA. Colorado's canyons are patient. Secrets fall in and wait. Case 5. Vanished into thin air. The disappearance of Ian Kirk Willcoxon. Ian Kirk Willcoxon, born February 22, 1992, was 24 in 2017. A U.S. Navy veteran, he split time between a friend's place in Boone, Colorado, and Conroe, Texas. After a layoff, he'd moved to Colorado in summer 2016 and found work on a marijuana farm. On January 3, 2017, he bought groceries and told his Texas landlord he'd pay rent when he got back. He had a flight out of Denver the next morning, January 4th, but the weather canceled that flight. At 10 a.m., he sent a text, his last confirmed contact. By January 5th, his phone was off or dead. He left with his keys, wallet, phone, and a personal protection item, not recovered. There's been no bank activity since, no signs of a struggle at the property. That leaves 2 doors. He left on foot or got into someone's vehicle. Online chatter suggests he had 2 vehicles, but didn't take either one on January 4th. The Arkansas River is a couple of miles away. With a canceled flight and a winter day to kill, did he go hike explore? Temperatures were below freezing on January 3rd to 4th, but no snowfall was recorded. Unanswered questions stack up. Did he know the flight was canceled when he left? What did the 10 a.m. text say, and to whom? What exactly did his roommate see last? Which direction did he head? Investigators believe someone knows. That sentence always cuts 2 ways. Someone who cares and can't prove it, or someone who doesn't and won't. To this day, Ian remains missing. 5 cases. 5 different doorways that opened onto the same cold room. Maggie walked into her own house and met people who treated fire like a broom. May made it home on Christmas Eve, only to be pushed off the edge of a holiday everyone else was allowed to keep. Tracy stepped from a car to a school entrance and vanished into the space a child should never have to survive. Violet left a mall, and a stranger drove her into the canyon like a secret he had to bury. Ian lost a flight and maybe took a walk, and the trail swallowed him whole. We don't do jump scares here. We do puzzles with missing corners, and families who go to bed every night knowing the last page is still blank. If one detail you heard tonight sounds familiar, if a face sketch, a red truck, a name, a parking lot, a canyon, a trail rings a bell, say something. Share this video. Drop a tip with the agencies on screen. Keep these people on your lips so they don't slip from the world's Subscribe to Unseen Casebook Vids for more cases that need witnesses, not just viewers. And as you lock up tonight, remember, in Colorado, the paths look friendly until dusk. Thanks for hiking the long miles with us. Watch your step on the way back down.